Welcome to Tech Talk here on WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, Orlando's news and talk. I'm Greg Rhodes here with David Leavitt, president and founder of Refresh Computer Superstore, and technician Adam Littlefield. You can contact the Refresh Computer Superstore by calling their free tech support hotline at 407-478-8200. Or if you have any other comments during the show, go ahead and leave an open mic inside the WDBO app. You can also check out the website over at refreshcomputers.net or stop in at the Refresh Computer Superstore in Longwood at 820 East State Road 434, just 3.5 miles east of I-4 in Longwood. Store hours are Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. And if you're listening to the show here live on Saturday, it means you still have time to stop by. They'll be open until 7 p.m. today. And now, David and Adam.
All right. Thanks, Greg. And thanks, everybody, for listening to Tech Talk with Refresh Computers. I'm David Leavitt, the owner and founder of Refresh Computers, 25-year-old plus company right here in Central Florida, taking care of your computer needs, whether it be replacing those old, outdated Windows 10 machines or with a really nice Windows 11 refurbished machine, very reasonably priced, or repairing those old computers that you have, your laptops. We do all kinds of screen repairs. Heck, we just got another referral from the Apple store for somebody that needs a battery in their MacBook because Apple's not replacing the batteries anymore.
They actually told her it wouldn't be worth doing in this machine. I think it costs about like $1,200-$1,300.
Yeah, they wouldn't. No, they refused to do it, she said. So that was news to me, but
That's I guess that's what you want to do, Apple. Go ahead and send business your way.
But it was nice of them to refer them to us because there's people in the Apple store that's done that over the years. I mean, I don't know who over there is doing that, but hey, we appreciate it. A lot of times it's screen repairs or a lot of battery replacements because, you have to take those MacBooks apart like a surgeon. I mean, they're really, really difficult. But
the batteries are glued in.
And the batteries are glued in, so you have to unglue them. And when you put the new battery in, you have to glue it back down and make sure everything. Yeah, so it's not easy. But anyhow, today's show is supposed to be about operating systems, and I got off on
an Apple tangent.
Yeah, and so we're going to talk about. There's 4 main operating systems. Mm-hmm. People know mostly there's Windows, right? Yes. Everybody knows that. And, of course, the next bigger one would be the Mac operating system, right? People know about that. 2 completely different operating systems. And, what is an operating system? Well, let's just, in case you don't know, let's just talk about that. That's what tells your computer what to do when you turn it on. Mm-hmm. And it helps navigate all the functions of your computer. Period. Whatever you're doing with it.
It makes it intuitive for the user. That's the goal of an operating system. Most computers are capacitors and PCB boards that we've put electricity through and tricked rocks into thinking. That's how I look at technology, honestly. Well, yeah. And the operating system simplifies that down to move the mouse here, click here, and you open a file rather than type in this command to go to this directory. It's much easier to use an operating system instead of just the very basic, very basic usage for a computer.
So the top 4. So we mentioned Windows. We're going to talk about pros and cons, right, of each one.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about the macOS, which we mentioned also. But the other 2 are that you may or may not have heard of is Linux and also Chrome operating system. And for all of you people who know Ubuntu, you didn't say Ubuntu. That's another operating system. Well, it's actually Linux.
Yes. It's a one of the many distributions of Linux that there are.
Yeah, Ubuntu operates on the Linux platform. So we're going to talk about Linux. We're going to talk about Chrome OS. Actually, a couple different types of Chrome operating systems today. Yeah, we're going to talk about just so you know, and a lot of these. It's relevant right now because, computers we've talked about for the last month and a half or 2 months, Windows 10 is expiring and it's making a lot of computers, older hardware, irrelevant. You can't use anymore because you have to upgrade these to Windows 11. Yeah. So, but there's an option, especially with the Linux and the Chrome operating systems where you can actually keep using these older computers. Maybe you want to hand them down to a kid. Maybe, you got a neighbor, or somebody in need of a computer. And we're going to talk about the benefit of being able to use these on alternate operating systems safely.
Yeah,
and keep on going.
What I've seen with a lot of Windows 10 computers now is with Windows 10 support expiring, they're still good hardware. And that's where, operating systems like Linux, operating systems like Chrome OS Flex come in that can run on these older systems that don't require really beefy hardware to run like Windows 11 does now.
Right. Exactly. So let's just talk about Windows, since that's the number one, pros and cons of using Windows, right? Yeah. Well, number one, it's the most prevalent.
It's the most known. You ask somebody, what's your computer running? And 90% of the time they'll go, I think Windows.
Yeah.
And that's because everybody knows the word or the name Windows.
And it's the most compatible.
Yes.
Right? With devices and printers.
Devices, software, any games that, you may play. Windows is that platform that kind of just supports it all.
Right. Almost like Mac. macOS does pretty much the same.
Yeah, Mac is basically the same, but a different environment. And we've talked about Apple's walled garden before, and we can get into macOS there in a little bit. But another thing with Windows, the main thing that is great about it, the hardware support. You plug in a USB mouse, 99% of the time it's going to work.
It knows
it. Just works.
It wasn't always that way.
No, it wasn't.
But it's improved quite a bit. You used to buy anything to plug into your computer going back about 10 years ago or so, and there came a little CD or disc that you had to use to install the drivers for it, right? But now it's just intuitive enough that probably 99% of the hardware you plug into it knows what it is, and okay, I'll just start working.
Yeah, and that helps so much with that always on the internet environment that we've kind of come accustomed to. We talked last week a little bit about how the new Windows 11 expects you to be connected to the internet.
That's right.
All the time to be able to verify. Well, that's a part of that as well, is making sure all those drivers and anything new that you get will be updated and used correctly.
It just updates.
Right. It just updates.
You're right. It's not just Windows that updates. It's all the drivers that are used to operate the devices you plug into your computer. As long as they're plugged into your computer, guess what? They automatically get updates too. So
and that's a good point.
Benefit.
With Windows Update, I always tell people those all-in-one installers where you've got driver updaters or these different programs that companies want you to buy. Windows Updates does that all-in-one for free. It's just part of the operating system.
Right. So, so it's the easiest operating system probably to use for most people. So some of the cons. So we talked about the pros. What are some of the cons, Adam, about
like I said,
Windows?
It requires a little bit more hardware now. So it's more resource intensive. It uses more resources, more RAM, CPU.
Better CPUs.
Yeah, Windows now actually, I've been seeing that there's been a change that they may be making a requirement of Windows 11 to be only solid state instead of mechanical.
Yeah.
And, if that pushes out, then any mechanical drives are going to not be able to be updated with that version of Windows. So, there's a big con there. But also, Windows is kind of more of a target for viruses and malware.
It is, because it's the most prevalent.
Exactly.
Yep. And the licensing costs, right? There, when you buy a new computer or even a refurbished computer at Refresh Computers, there's a license cost to that's built into the cost of owning that computer.
Yeah.
And so you are actually, operating a licensed machine when you're operating a Windows-based computer. So if you're not, it lets you know in a hurry.
and that's a good thing as well. If you're building your own computer, if you've gotten all of the parts, you source them yourself, you put them together, it starts up, you install Windows on it, you still have to pay Microsoft for the Windows license.
That's right.
To activate it on your computer.
So that's a big con. It's expensive.
It is expensive.
It's expensive, and it's built into the cost of every computer that you buy. Pretty much, that's on Windows. So,
but another thing that bugs me, at least, and we've had customers come to the store before, is the bloatware. Windows
we talked about that.
Put into so much from these big box stores. I've actually had customers with a brand new computer still sealed in the box. They bring it to us to entirely de-bloat it. And it takes minutes.
We
to
do that
turn
as
on.
a service. Yeah, people bring in their brand new computers. We prefer they buy the quality refurbished computer from us, but because we have no bloatware on any of our computers, we don't put any of that crap on there. So what happens with bloatware? Bloatware is it's timed. It's so. When you first turn on your new computer, you might get something to sign up for an antivirus or something, and it just pops up on your screen. You can't get rid of it. It'll keep reminding you also. And then, so you're not getting pounded from the first time that you turn on your computer. It'll wait a week. So that's what I mean by it's time. It'll wait a week and then introduce another program that it wants you to buy just pops up on your screen, and and it just does this. It keeps on doing this, and so people get tired of that, so they bring it over to us. What do we charge to remove all that bloatware?
Generally it's around $45, but I've had customers before that are wanting file transfers done, and half the time we'll just throw the debloating in with it.
Yeah, because it takes up resources.
It does.
It takes up your memory.
And
takes up storage.
Yeah, and there's no good feeling about sending a computer out that's running handicapped. There really isn't.
So that's a big con for Windows operating systems. So, we got a few minutes for the break. Let's talk a little bit about Macs, right? So Mac operating system, for those of you that are not Apple computer inclined, the pros are it probably has a much more intuitive interface than Windows. Well, maybe not much more these days, but more.
For the
used
user,
to be way more.
For the user that is using it, for someone that's doing video, doing photo editing, that kind of work, the interface is very intuitive.
Right.
It works, and that's something I've always said with Apple. Their devices just kind of work.
They do, and a big plus also is the fact if you have an iPad or an iPhone, have the integration between your Mac computer, whether it's a laptop or a desktop, and your iPhone is just seamless. It's just right there. What's on your phone's on your computer, blah, blah, blah. You don't have to, integrate anything like you do. I mean, you can integrate your iPhone on a Windows-based computer, but you have to integrate it.
It's nothing like Mac's integration either.
But it's nothing like it.
No. And that's something that, like you were saying, you can integrate it with a Windows computer, and that's what I've done with my Samsung phone. And there's actually features that Android phones can do that Apple devices can't when it's synced to Windows. So you're also losing features there just because you're not using Mac's OS.
Right. And the other good pro for the Mac operating system is the regular security updates.
Yeah,
right.
Regular security updates. Their privacy default settings. If you just set up the computer and use it, they're just better than Windows.
Yes.
Windows ticks that on for I want to share all of my information about what's going on with this computer.
Whereas with every computer on my network.
Exactly.
Anyone who can ever connect to my network can see anything I've ever done. Yes.
But then you've got Apple that is acting almost like a ghost in the machine.
Right.
They are very closed off to themselves.
Yeah. So the default privacy features compared to a Windows and Apple is like night and day.
It really is.
Apple tends, in the Mac operating system, they tend to have everything turned off by default, so it's not shared, where Windows will have most of the stuff turned on.
Yeah.
So you'd have to go turn it off if you can.
Another nice thing, at least with macOS to me, is whenever there's a new version that comes out, a new update that comes out, there's not a glaringly large issue with every single update. They've got a lot of quality, they've got a lot of optimization as well. The OS doesn't run slow on the computer. It doesn't bog it down.
It's fast. Yeah. And so some of the cons real quick about the Mac operating system. And then after we talk about the cons, we'll go take a break, and then we'll talk about the other two, but operating systems, which are Linux and Chrome.
Yeah.
So some of the cons real quick, Adam.
Yeah, main con to me, it's expensive. To get an Apple device that's only supported on Apple hardware, it's just expensive to get into.
It is, because you can only use the Apple operating system on Apple computers and laptops.
You can't purchase a macOS license and load it onto it's a term called Hackintosh, where you hack something together and you try to throw macOS on
like
it.
Macintosh,
and it never runs right.
Right. Yeah, but people do it. I've seen it, and then sometimes they screw up their Mac.
The whole thing, yeah. But there's also file system quirks, things that sometimes just don't organize right with Mac. The way that the partitions line up isn't as intuitive, really, as Windows. And if you're an advanced user, that's something that'll really get under your skin quick.
Well, yeah, because it is hard to sometimes find files, right, in a Mac operating system. I know they have Finder and all that stuff built in, but it's not. I think Windows is probably a little more intuitive. There's arguably, and it's not for gamers. That's the other thing. The Mac OS is not for gamers at all. So that's about all we have time for this segment. When we get back after the break, we're going to talk about Linux and the Chrome operating system. And I'm saving the Chrome operating system for last because I got some news for that one that's really going to help a lot of these older machines that we touched on at the beginning of the broadcast today.
So don't go anywhere, Linux and Chrome users. We'll be right back to talk about you coming up here on Tech Talk on WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580. Hey there, and welcome back to Tech Talk here on WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, Orlando's news and talk. I'm Greg Rhodes here with David Leavitt, president and founder of Refresh Computer Superstore, and technician Adam Littlefield. You can contact the Refresh Computer Superstore by calling their free tech support hotline at 407-478-8200. And if you have any other comments during the show, go and leave an open mic using the WDBO app. And now, back to David and Adam.
All right. Thanks, Greg. And welcome back, everybody, to Tech Talk with Refresh Computers. We're talking about all the different types of operating systems. Well, at least the four major operating systems out there. We talked in depth about Windows already. We talked about the Apple operating system. So the two most prevalent operating systems out there. In this shorter segment right now, we're going to talk about Linux. And then after the next break, we'll be talking about the Chrome operating system because I got some really important news and updates for you about the Chrome operating system and what it can do for your older machines. So Linux. So, people may have heard of Linux, but probably not a lot of people have used Linux. And it's a free operating system.
Open source, too.
Open source, free, which is why Ubuntu took Linux and they made their own little operating system called Ubuntu. And but Linux is, like we just said, it's open source. So that's one of probably the biggest
it's
the biggest
customizable.
benefit.
You can do almost anything with Linux.
And I've seen almost anything.
Yeah.
I've seen file share servers set up before. I've set up a personal game server at home before off of Linux.
Yeah.
And again, that was running on hardware that was not Windows 11, deemed Windows 11 capable.
Right.
Still perfectly fine for running a home server.
Well, and that's another pro for Linux. Is it doesn't have to, it can run on a very low hardware, capable machine. So like an older computer that you would run Windows on, you can run Linux, and there's all kinds of help online.
There are millions of forums. There are guides
tutorials
everywhere for it.
So you can make your own Linux machine probably, within a half an hour maybe?
Yeah, if you've got the know-to and the guides, you can do almost anything with Linux.
So you can look it up online, use Grok, do some AI search on what's the most efficient way to load Linux on this model computer.
And that might be one of the things that's going to ruin one of these cons that you do have listed on here is that steep learning curve. Because
that's right.
With so much AI integration that we have and everything, you're going to be able to have access to that kind of information so much easier than what you've had in the past.
And a lot of AI farms now, too, that are training models are using Linux as their operating system because it uses so little resources that the AI model can grab all of the RAM that the system has. Linux, I think, only realistically needs a quarter or a half a gig of RAM to really be able to run. I don't know if it'll run well anymore on the newer ones, but that just shows you how applicable Linux is.
So, when you bring in your old computer and to refresh computers, you upgrade to a Windows 11 computer. You might want to take that old computer back home.
Yeah.
We can wipe the hard drive for you if you want us to do that, but because it'll still need a drive. Take that old computer back home, play around with this if you got some time.
Yeah.
Do a Grok or AI search for how do I load Linux on, and then put in your model computer, Dell Optiplex 7010 or whatever. And it'll come back and tell you exactly what you need to do.
Yeah. Now, one of the cons really with Linux that I've seen before and ran into trying to do my own home server was drivers. Drivers are the main thing that Linux has so much trouble with because the operating system has a lot of issues recognizing Wi-Fi, printers, even graphics cards that are installed into it. You have to do a lot of finagling to really get Linux to recognize a GPU sometimes.
Yeah. But eventually it will in most cases. But again, that's what AI searches are for.
Yeah, and you've actually hit it on the head of the nail there that AI really opens the doors to Linux.
It does.
Linux, you are only as good at Linux as how good your Google foo is. How good you can go on Google and put in what you're trying to figure out or do, and Google somehow spit out a good result for you. But now with AI, it can understand so much more. You can even tell it, I have no idea what I'm doing. Please hold my hand through this, and it will.
And it will. It definitely will.
Yeah.
So
we'll have more on the top operating systems. We've got a lot to go over with Chrome coming up next. You've been listening to Tech Talk right here on WDBO, 107.3 FM and AM 580. Welcome to Tech Talk here on WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, Orlando's news and talk. I'm Greg Rhodes here with David Leavitt, president and founder of Refresh Computer Superstore, and technician Adam Littlefield. You can contact the Refresh Computer Superstore by calling their free tech support hotline at 407-478-8200. Or if you have any other comments on these operating systems we're going over, go and leave an open mic inside the WDBO app. You can also check out the website over at refreshcomputers.net or stop at the Refresh Computer Superstore in Longwood at 820 East State Road 434, just 3.5 miles east of I-4 in Longwood. Store hours are Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., and if you're listening to the show here on Saturday, it means you still have time to stop by. They'll be open until 7 p.m. today. And now, back to David and Adam, as we've tackled 3 out of the 4 of the top operating systems.
Right.
All that's left is Google's operating system now, Chrome OS.
Chrome operating system made by Google. So I will mention that, if you missed any of the show, it's all about operating systems today. And you want to recap anything that you heard already, or if you missed something, you can hear this show in its entirety on our podcast, which is online pretty much within an hour or two after the show on Saturday. Depends on how fast Greg can get that file over to me. Sometimes it's a little later, but that's okay.
Depends on the button presses.
Yes.
That's right. And so, you can go to refreshcomputers.net, click on that podcast link. You can hear the show in its entirety. And you can also look at some of the other shows. We got some really popular shows lately up there, getting a lot of views or a lot of listens, So, out of the 4 operating systems, which, Windows, macOS, we have Chrome, and we have Linux, right? Out of those 4, there's 3 that are actually mass-produced with equipment, right?
Right.
So Windows, of course, we know that. Mac OS, of course, and Linux really isn't produced on equipment.
It's one of those operating systems that's just a little too advanced to mass produce for the masses.
Exactly. So instead, there is Chrome operating system, which is made by Google, and they, you've probably heard of Chromebooks, right?
Chromebooks that's what's running. That's the flagship for Chrome OS.
That's
right. Chromebook.
That's why they call them Chromebooks, because it's using the Chrome operating system. Very smooth operating system.
It's lightweight.
Right? Lightweight. Takes less resources.
Yeah, we've talked before about Chromebooks and the little bit of resources they have, the little bit of storage space, but Google actually packs a lot into an operating system that can run on a machine like a Chromebook.
That's right,
and that's an accomplishment.
And hey folks, just a little while we're thinking of Chromebooks.
Yeah,
Black Friday's coming. And we got a deal on a touchscreen Chromebook coming up for Black Friday. That's all I'm going to say about it right now.
Got my ears perked.
I'm telling you, really late. It's HP Chromebook too, so not some cheap knockoff. Because Chromebooks, let's face it, there's Chromebooks are made by Dell, HP, Lenovo, all the top brands.
Samsung had one for a while.
Samsung, I think they still do. But there's a lot of cheap Chinese knockoff Chromebooks also. So you got to kind of watch what you're getting. But the deal we have coming up for Black Friday on a touchscreen Chromebook is going to be awesome. And it's HP Chromebook too, by the way. So anyhow, it's more pros on the Chrome operating system is the fact that it's very fast to boot up, right?
Yeah,
it just turns on.
It takes a couple seconds. And Chrome OS, really quick, has a feature called Power Wash. What that does is it entirely wipes the entire Chromebook.
So quick.
And it's so fast to do.
Yes.
I've done a reset of Windows before, and it's taken almost an hour to do.
Yeah.
Because that, re-downloads Windows, it reinstalls it, wipes everything.
You power wash a Chromebook, and basically you're erasing everything and just starting over.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like 30 seconds.
Yeah. It's just real quick.
Yeah.
It does it right now. So it does updates automatically in the background, right? Has excellent security, too.
Yeah. Chromebooks, they're I wouldn't call them impervious, but they are definitely resilient to a lot of malware, viruses out there. I know that they still sometimes can fall victim to those Microsoft pop-ups saying this is Microsoft, your computer has been hacked. But, almost every computer this day and age, unfortunately, can run into those.
And just to be clear, there's the Chrome operating system and there's the Chrome browser.
Exactly.
These are two different things that we're talking about. So, of course, installed on the Chromebooks or Chrome operating system is the Chrome browser.
Yeah.
So you use the Chrome browser to surf the internet, and that would be a con, I guess, because I don't know that you can use another browser necessarily.
I don't believe you can. Chrome OS really does lock you into only using applications verified by Google. So, it's only applications that gets Google's stamp of approval, but that also means Google looks at every application that installs to it, so you really can't get any nefarious applications by them to have it verified for their OS.
Sounds pretty similar to a operating system we just talked about a little bit ago, macOS.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So here's the huge pro for me. I mean, and relevant today, very current, is the fact that Chrome has come out probably within the last year or two, maybe a couple of years. It hasn't been out very long, with what they call Chrome OS Flex. Flex. So basically, the difference between Flex and the regular Chrome OS is the Chrome OS comes on computers or laptops that's already mass produced. So here we go, Chrome OS. The Flex is a version of the Chrome operating system that you install on older machines. So as your machine becomes Windows 10 has expired, so your machine is expiring basically. No, it hasn't. You can put the Chrome OS Flex on that old computer, on most of these older computers. And again, it's not that hard.
I was going to ask, have you done the process?
Yes.
How simple of a process are we talking here?
You have to actually install it. You have to get what they call a distro, right? Which is you put the program on a thumb drive. And then you put the thumb drive in your computer and turn it on and tell it to boot from the thumb drive, and
it'll go through
the installation. It just goes through the installation process just like that.
We actually have a touchscreen HP all-in-one that was in the Windows 10 lockdown where it said it cannot update to Windows 11. We put Chrome OS Flex on it, and that's our check-in kiosk at the front door
That's
now.
right. So these older machines, that's what I love about this new Flex operating system from Chrome, is it extends the life of your older machines. You can just keep on going with these things. Now, it's a completely different file subsystem and things. It depends a lot more on the cloud.
There's a lot of integration with Google Drive.
Yes.
But, that's also, I would almost call that a blessing, because these Chromebooks, they do have smaller amounts of storage. So those devices storing in the cloud, if anything happens to that small device, you've still got cloud storage. And being on Chrome OS Flex, that's just more of an extension, kind of like OneDrive with Windows.
Yeah. I wouldn't say they're made for an office environment.
No, they're not.
So that would be one of the cons, I guess.
Yeah.
It's just not something you wouldn't want a whole bunch of.
You can't pull up
Chrome
Microsoft Word or Excel, because those aren't verified by Google for installation on Chrome OS.
But you could pull up Word and Excel files inside of Google Docs.
Exactly.
Right. So you have all those compatible.
Yeah. But you have to go with Google's programs.
You have to use Google's programs.
Exactly.
But at least you have something.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's great for kids, especially the laptops.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, bring in your old laptop because you're going to upgrade it to a newer Windows 11. But maybe think about keeping that laptop and putting this Chrome Flex operating system on it, and hand it down to 6-year-old, 7-year-old, whatever.
Even just to try, really.
Just to try it, it'd be fun.
With Chrome OS too, it requires such low maintenance. With Windows, it has its own garbage collection. It clears out temporary files.
Right.
I'm sure a lot of listeners have heard of programs like CCleaner or System Ninja that clear out those temp files that Windows misses. But Chrome OS really does this on its own. You don't have to think about using it. You turn on the device and you just use it. That's it.
That's it. It's just an awesome machine. And what we are going to be doing in the near future, we don't have in the store right now, but we're going to take some of the leftover Windows 10 computers that we have that are not capable of going to Windows 11, and we're going to put the Chrome OS Flex on them, and these will be your $99 to $200 desktop computer that we're going to have available in the store. Not right now. That's coming up probably after the holidays sometime. But right now we're gearing up for holiday season.
Yeah.
And so but oh my gosh, I mean this is a breakthrough, and it's going to extend the life of products.
Yeah.
And it's just which I love. We have a big sign in the store. Extend the life of a product, extend the life of a planet.
Yeah.
I love that.
And
a little bit of what we talked about leading up to the Windows 10 end of life was over 50% of machines available were not able to be upgraded.
That's right.
Yeah.
So there's a huge swath of these machines that are available that you can continue the life of utilizing something like Chrome OS Flex.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now, we talked about licensing earlier with things like with the Windows programs.
No license required.
No license required. Is there
Chrome.
a cost behind Chrome OS at this point?
No cost. Completely free. It's a completely free program.
Yep.
And, as with any of these operating systems and with most programs, especially like these free ones, for example. So the wording in the EULA, the end user license agreement, will be something like, you're free to use this Chrome OS on any computer that you want, but you're not allowed to put the Chrome OS on a thumb drive and distribute it.
Right.
So there's no distribution rights, but you're allowed to put it on any computer. We're allowed to put it on any computer we want to in the store, and then we can sell that computer with that OS. That's fine. We're just not allowed to make copies of the OS and give it to you.
Right. And then charge people for it.
Even give it away.
Even just giving it
You
that
can't
way.
even get it because it's still distribution. There's zero distribution allowed.
That's important to specify that.
Yeah. So you're not allowed to do that.
Yeah.
But it's still a great alternative for these older machines.
It is. Microsoft really tried to come down and say, these machines that can't support Windows 11, you need to get rid of them. Throw them in a landfill. That's what Microsoft has been doing by ending these updates now for Windows 10, when really there is more use in a lot of these machines that, people think they need to throw out now.
Yeah, and I want to take an opportunity to mention again that we will be having some Black Friday deals, and a Chromebook, HP Chromebook, will be touchscreen too. Will be a phenomenal price. And I want you to make sure, you tune in next week, because next week we'll probably spill the beans a little bit just for the radio listening audience, because there's a big newspaper ad coming out on Thanksgiving Day. Keep an eye out for that. You get the Orlando Sentinel delivered. There's the Thursday newspaper, Thanksgiving Day newspaper, is the fattest newspaper of the day. I mean, of the year. It's the biggest by volume. Why? Because of all the Black Friday ads that are still printed and put in that newspaper.
Right.
So every year for the last 4 or 5 years, Refresh Computers has paid for the overlay of all the Black Friday ads. So there's a wrap that goes around all the Black Friday ads. That's our wrap. I pay for that. And so on that wrap will be all the deals, and we're going to spill the beans on that. And because it's such an expensive, it's very expensive to do that wrap with the Sentinel. I hesitate letting people know early, because we want to make sure that we can gauge how effective the ad is, and it's very effective. I can tell you every year. But next week we're gonna do something a little different. So make sure you tune in next week, because we're gonna spill the beans on what's going to be in that Black Friday wrap.
I love bringing in breaking news into this show. Like going from
one
of my jobs into this job and turning it all into breaking news. I love it. I'm so excited.
So that's going to be a fun show too. Next week's going to be our Black Friday show.
Yeah.
Right. So
we'll have a lot of talks of what we've got going on for Black Friday. So we're gonna have a lot of good deals on that. And just really quick again, a lot of the systems that we're gonna have after the holiday, you said, with that Chrome OS Flex, what was the price you were thinking on for those ones right now?
Probably around starting at $99.
Yeah. And honestly, that's still better than what you're looking at buying a Chromebook brand new, if you think about that.
Oh, yeah. But that's not the Black Friday deal that I'm talking about right now.
That's entirely different.
This will be, after the holidays, we're going to be putting that Chrome Flex operating system we were talking about on some older Dell computers, for example, and that you can run, and that way you can just keep using it. So, and if you missed if you don't even know what we're talking about, if you're just tuning in, you can catch up by going to refreshcomputers.net. Click on that podcast link up there. You can hear this show in its entirety. So today we talked about the 4 major operating systems, which are Windows, Mac operating system from Apple, the Chrome operating system from Google, and we also talked about Linux, which is a open source operating system, which is probably number 4, right, in the list.
I would say so, yeah, since it's not mass produced or sold with devices.
With devices. So the first 3 are sold with devices, right? So Windows, Mac, of course, OS, and then Chrome. It's sold with devices with it already installed on it. But yeah, go to refreshcomputers.net, click on that podcast link. You can hear all about it.
We'll have our recap on these operating systems, and I'll have a statistic for the guys I don't know if they've seen yet. We'll bring it up here coming up next here on Tech Talk on WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580. Hey there, and welcome back to Tech Talk here on WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, Orlando's News and Talk. I'm Greg Rhodes here with David Leavitt, president and founder of Refresh Computer Superstore, and technician Adam Littlefield. You can contact the Refresh Computer Superstore by calling their free tech support hotline at 407-478-8200, or to get a jump on those Black Friday deals, go ahead and take a look over at their website at refreshcomputers.net. And now, back to David and Adam, as like I mentioned, I've got some numbers for you, so I want to see how close you guys can get. Closest to the pin will win.
Okay.
Okay, that sounds like fun. But before we get to that, if you are a regular listener to this show, you're probably wondering what the heck happened to the deals section. You know, we used to do 15 to 20 minutes every hour of our show, just talking about very specific deals that we did at the Refresh Computer Store. The deals are still there. They're, you can come on into the store. Please come on in. Look at the website, refreshcomputers.net. We have hundreds and hundreds of devices, computers, and laptops. We have more in stock right now than we've ever had.
It is physically impossible for us to fit all the different models we have right now on the displays we have.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, but the reason I decided, I took the executive decision to kind of nix that whole deal section, because I realized, and actually I heard this from a customer, it sounds like an infomercial. We do pay for this time, by the way, but I want it to be more, I don't know, what am I looking for?
Conversational.
Conversational is one, but helpful, not something that, maybe it's helpful to know about what deals that we have, of course, but it's just
engaging.
Right? Thank you. More engaging. So we can take more in-depth look at the topics that we're talking about by giving up that 15 or 20 minutes of our deals section. But because, if you listen to this show all the time, you go to refreshcomputers.net, you see all the deals right there.
You're going to see the best deals.
Ton of deals right there right now.
But I do, and again, the deals are great. But I also do love the conversations that we've been having here on the last couple episodes. They've been a lot of fun. Yeah. And I'm excited about how we talked about these operating systems and how they're broken down. These are the big four. But which one's really the biggest of the big four? We all know it's Microsoft.
Right.
But what's the number on that? So I've got the numbers here in front of me.
So we get to guess, right?
You guys get the guess. I'm going to give you the chance closest to the pin.
I'm not. No, nothing about it here.
You have your phone in front of you.
I've got Grok looking at something else. Don't worry.
If you're too close, I'm going to call it.
So this is according to Stats Counter. They gather all these global stats, and I have in front of me, as of February 2025, the desktop operating system market share worldwide.
Desktop,
so just desktops, not laptops, not
so that's a big difference.
Not
that can
phones,
make a big difference.
Not any of that kind of stuff. So just desktops.
Of course, it's Windows.
What is Windows' market share of that in a percentage form?
I'm going to say 94%.
I'm going to say 87%.
Adam's a bit closer. It's at 70%, actually.
Oh,
so
wow.
70.62%.
Whoa.
Next up
That's
is
not as much as I thought.
macOS.
Mac, okay.
So what are we thinking for Mac? What do you think that number is? Now that you know that Windows is at 70.6.
I'm going to say 25%. I'm going to go strong there.
I was going to say that. So I'll go 26.
It's 15.7.
Wow.
Oh, you win again.
That's way less than I thought still.
But you still closer to the pin.
I will tell you that third is unknown.
Okay.
So there's a grouping of probably multiple different ones, and it could be also just be Linux
Ubuntu.
offshoots.
I was going to say could be the Linux umbrella of the many different distributions.
But they do have Linux specified in this list. So unknown comes in at 8%. Linux is still third.
Really, but more so than Chrome.
More so than
because Chrome is mostly on laptops. That's why.
So that could be what's kind of throwing this off a little bit.
Chrome OS is on laptops, but with Chrome Flex, that could change.
That could change rapidly. Right now, Linux is in fourth at 3.8%. Chrome comes in at 1.8%. So now, again, you mentioned that I mentioned this is from February. If Chrome OS Flex is that new, it could be still changing the marketplace.
Oh, it is.
So we'll see how
it's
that
going to take a
changes.
while to catch up.
But I thought that would be a fun
especially
little...
bringing light to it existing, because not a lot of people even know that Chrome OS Flex exists outside of a Chromebook.
Yeah. So, well, look, folks, that's all we have time for today. I really appreciate you listening. Again, go to the refreshcomputers.net, click on that podcast link if you want to hear the show in its entirety. We'll be talking to you next week about some Black Friday deals. So this is David Leavitt at Refresh Computers. We'll be talking to you then.